and welcome to another edition of Monday Motivation with Bukola. It's a show about inspiration, women empowerment, beauty, business, money, culture, entertainment, and advocacy. And I have a fabulous guest in the house for you today. She's Nayah Ndefru-Kathurima. She's a business owner, she's a creator, she's a coach, and she's going to be telling us some of those tips we need to launch our business. Have you been living in fear and afraid to take that bold step of living either the corporate world or just going after your dream? Nayah will tell us how to do that today. Thank you so much, Nayah, for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here, Bukola.
Thanks. So, as we roll on the show, we go with a motivational quote for the day. And today's motivational quote actually came from leaders who have been successful. And I'm sharing this quote from inc.com today. And this particular one is from John D. Rockefeller. For those of you who have been learning about business people, you know that name. He said, "Don't be afraid to give up the good for the great." I will take that again. I know. Don't be afraid to give up the good for the great. And that quote is by John D. Rockefeller. What that means in essence is that don't feel scared to take that next step you want to take to achieve your dream. What is it that you really desire to do? Perhaps even your family members or your friends or the society is telling you one thing, but your heart is saying something else. And even though you might think, or they might think, oh, you look comfortable already. You are okay with your 9-to-5 job. You're getting salary. Why do you want to start entrepreneurship when you don't even know how the money is going to come in? I want to encourage you today to take that step. And perhaps it's in something else, even if it's not business. I want to encourage you not to be afraid to take that step from good to great. So welcome again, Nayah, for coming on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Bukola.
We want to know, who is Nayah?
Well, I knew that question was coming. It's hard. Let me start by saying this. It's easy to say that I'm a mom, I'm a business owner, I'm a leader, a community builder, but too often we have labels, right? Who are you? That's the first thing someone asks when they meet you. Who are you? And a big part of what I do is lead and inspire. That's what I do every day, is I lead and inspire. So for the people who are, let's say today, you're probably in a job that you're not excited about, and you say, what do you do? I'm a cashier or something. I always get taken aback by the question, what do you do? But who am I? I'm a leader and a builder. I believe that true change happens when we own who we are, the gifts inside of us, and walk in our purpose. So I inspire people to walk in their purpose. I love working with women, inspiring children, and impacting destinies. So that's, in summary, what I do. Yes.
Thanks. You just said that you are a leader and you inspire and you are a builder. So it's not surprising that you have built a line of products. So can you tell us how you got to that?
Okay. Well, I have a makeup line currently. It's called Xolany Beauty. That product line is really a passion project. I call it my passion project because I've always loved makeup. Back in the day, I sold Avon, I've sold Mary Kay, and I've always had some type of business, some type of hustle, as it's called. and sold Amway also. So in the process of selling and learning about makeup, I always found that there was a gap. But more importantly than the gap, with finding colors for ethnic skin tones, darker skin tones, and just the beauty of the diversity in our skin tone, because we can both be dark, but we'll have different undertones, and there's just so much going on with the complexity of our skin tones. So that's why our tagline is for every shade of beautiful, because we can all be here, we can all be darker, we can all be fair, but we still have variations in our skin tones, right? So one was to address the need of ethnic beauties, darker skin tones. And secondly, Xolany Beauty was built as a result of my passion, not only for makeup, but when you do makeup as a makeup artist, you have an opportunity to touch a woman's face, right? And there's such an intimate connection that happens when you touch someone's face and you tell them they're beautiful. I found that most of the times it was not just doing makeup, it was, again, having an opportunity to sit with someone and remind them that they're beautiful, inspire them to see the beauty inside of them that sometimes has been covered up by layers of fear or self-hate or, depression, or just many years of being told that you're not beautiful. So to me, makeup is like clothing for your face. That's what I call it, because, we put on clothes, you know how it is. You can wrap your hair and wear a beautiful dress, and it changes the way you feel, right? That's why I like to get dressed up. And so this Xolany Beauty was designed to remind us all that we're beautiful. We're made beautiful. We're made in the image of God, and that's beautiful. So my daughter's name is Xolany, and she's a beautiful mocha girl. She's a little one. She'll be 3 this month. And when she was born, you know how your kids are born, they look, you never know what they're gonna look like. She's darker, beautiful, like I said, beautiful mocha brown. And I started getting comments when she was born, like, oh, I wouldn't have imagined that your daughter would be this dark. Or I wouldn't have thought that, wouldn't it have been better if look at her African nose. Like, where did she get that nose from? And, you look at your child and you say, everything I see in her is beautiful. But people from the outside look at her and place their self-hate and their lack of self-acceptance on her before she even understands what those concepts are. So this is my hey, don't talk about my baby anyhow type of passion project. That's why I call it my passion project. Yeah. All right. So that's what Xolany Beauty is about. It's reminding us all that we're beautiful.
Thank you so much. And,
yeah.
You just said something powerful now that I wrote down about outside comments, and especially outside comments with child. Telling a mom, how come your child looks so dark, or how come your child looks like this or like that? And I can imagine that there are many parents going through the same kind of experience. What would be advice for such parents to overcome this kind of negative comments?
I think first and foremost, you need to address it. And I don't think I did that initially when I started hearing that. When maybe it's your first child or you've never heard something like that, you're kind of taken aback. But which is why it's good we're having this conversation, is if someone says something about your child, you must address it. You need to tell the person, I don't appreciate you saying that, and remind them that, tell me why you think an African nose is not beautiful. Why do you think dark skin is not beautiful? I look at you and I see beauty. So sometimes, like I said, I think a lot of times, don't get me wrong, these are people who love me, right? And love my daughter. And then they say these things because it's commonplace. It's commonplace in a lot of African culture, I'd say, to say like, oh, to talk about other people's appearance. But until we begin to have those conversations and address them head on, then we don't make change. So I think number one is to address the person and look at that as an opportunity to educate them. I think it's most important.
Thanks. I like that.
Yeah.
Look at that as an opportunity to educate them. So parents, do not be afraid to say right in the face of someone who tells you your child doesn't look like you, or your child is too dark, or your child is too light, or why does your child look like this? To educate them straight on. Thank you again. If you are just joining us, this is Monday Motivation with Bukola, and we will be right back. Welcome back. If you are just joining us for the first time, this is Monday Motivation with Bukola. It's a show about inspiration, women empowerment, beauty, business, money, culture, entertainment, and advocacy. And we have a fabulous guest in the house. She's Nayah Ndefru-Kathurima. And she's been talking to us about leadership skills and business and even family. So I want to ask you, Nayah, you graduated at the age of 20 and you were even in the US Army. So can you tell us about college? Were you in the military while you were in school, or you finished school before going into military? And how were you able to cope?
I finished school before joining the military. So when I graduated, my intention was to go to medical school. And I took a year out after graduating, taking the MCATs. I was thinking either about pharmacy school or medical school. So I, looked into that, actually started taking classes in pharmacy school, but then said, nah, it wasn't for me. And then at some point, my sister was interested in joining the Air Force. And I said, maybe I just need to go out and get some world skills. And maybe, with the military background, it will be a better transition for me to go to medical school. So that was part of my incentive, and it didn't hurt that they pay your student loans off. So my goal was to go in, get my student loans paid off, go to medical school. So I went in after college and then joined the military, the U.S. Army after college. Yeah.
Nice. Wow. And then you also left corporate America to start your own business, for profit and non-profit business. And you also offer business coaching for people who want to start their own business. So what would be your advice for someone who is trying to make a decision right now, whether to make that jump, to leave corporate world, or not to make that jump?
Everybody's situation is different. If you have the itch to leave corporate America, it's usually a good indication that you have the ability to make the jump. Why do I say that? Because a lot of people cannot even think that they can leave. So it's really about mindset. If you believe that maybe I can do something else, maybe I can start my own business, that's a very good place to start. But if that's never crossed your mind, no. So when you're thinking about leaving corporate America to run your own business, obviously there's, the in quote security that comes with having a job, knowing where your at the end of 2 weeks or at the end of every month, you're getting a paycheck. So usually the big challenge is figuring out how to make money, right, in your business. And I think when you figure out that your business can make money, it's a good time to take that jump when you have a good plan in place. So you need to think about what type of expenses you have before, like what expenses do you have right now? How can you scale back? Because a lot of times we do a lot of things that we don't really need to be doing, right? Like how much money are we spending buying purses and extra hair or, you know, like how can you scale back on the non-essential stuff? And how can you really slice your budget down to essentials so you can put some money away? You definitely want to put some money away because business can be unpredictable. So put some money away, but recognize that you can scale back. Anybody can scale back, right? And then take the leap of faith. But I say take the leap of faith when you've tested out your idea, when you know it works. You don't go out there to a business that you're not sure if it works or not, and you're like, I'm going to run a business. No, you want to definitely test your idea. And, you know, you don't have to have it making as much money as you think you need to make to survive, but it needs to be viable with an option to grow.
So you just talked about testing your idea. How do you test your idea to make sure it's going to work?
Well, and like every business is different, just like we're all different. Every business has a fingerprint. So let's say you want to start a brick and mortar business. Let's say while you're in employment, you don't have the time to go, you know, have a restaurant or a cafe or a retail shop for clothes. You can test your idea by doing surveys, number one, finding out where there's a need. Number two, you can actually produce your product, right? Let's say it's a clothing line or a makeup line like I have, is produce your product and get it in the hands of consumers. Get it in the hands of who your ideal client is. If you are, let's say you're a blogger, you start writing, right? You start writing and start seeing what the response is. That's what testing your idea is. It could be technology. You know, sometimes we create stuff and it's wonderful, but it's not the right time, right? It's not the right, people will not understand it. Like I heard Twitter, when Twitter was born, it sat there for 2 years and no one could figure out how to use Twitter. But then Twitter came early. So if you were the Twitter owner and you left your job 2 years earlier when you saw it's not working, that was the wrong time, right? So you want to test your idea to make sure it's working and your target audience has a glimpse and understands it, because when you come out, then you have more time to make it grow.
You know, you just said something really important about Twitter coming earlier and Twitter not working. Would you say that it's because the people who started Twitter didn't understand the millennials, or they didn't understand the power of how to make the social media work? Because I think that Facebook was the one that actually kind of brought this big attraction to social media. And
Right.
The Facebook owner is a millennial. So the way millennials consume is different from the way, you know, those that are not millennials consume. So would you say it's because like Twitter didn't understand, you know, that audience? Could that be what hindered the growth at the beginning?
I think it could be a variety of things, because Twitter's audience is very broad now, at least. Probably didn't start out that way. But like with any idea, I think it's a combination of the timing and the product. So when Twitter came out, I honestly, I probably need to look at it a little more, you know, clearly to see what really happened with Twitter. But for those 2 years when it was kind of resting, it may have been a combination of marketing, you know, getting it in the hands of the right people for them. Like, think of Facebook. Facebook was specifically targeted to millennials. It was launched in colleges, right? Particular colleges, launching it one college at a time, and then before it blew up. So I don't know if, and that's really about finding your ideal market, right? So I don't know if Twitter had clearly defined their ideal market, because you can have your ideal market and then it can grow. It can, once your ideal market validates it, then it expands to whoever, right? Think about, let's talk about cosmetics, because I like, with makeup.
Yes.
MAC has always been there. Women of color was not their target demographic, right? Their products were created for the majority, which is not women of color. But once MAC was validated, we started going there to look, do you have something for me? And then they add to it. So I think it was a combination of timing and marketing, defining who their ideal client was.
Okay, so that question brings me to defining your target audience, but we come to that after the break. Welcome back. If you are just joining us for the first time, this is Monday Motivation with Bukola. It's a show about inspiration, women empowerment, beauty, business, money, culture, entertainment, and advocacy. And I have a fabulous guest in the house today. She's Nayah Ndefru-Kathurima. She's a businesswoman. She's a creator, and she's also a coach. She's been talking about businesses and finding your target audience and how to succeed with a business if you are a starter or a first-time business owner. So thank you so much, Nayah, again. Before we went on the break, I was going to ask you about target audience.
Okay.
Because I think that is one of the main core thing that a business person needs to do. And of course, the market changes again and again, but in that beginning stage, or before you even launch, or even if you have launched already, like Twitter, and you find yourself sitting down there and nothing is happening, what would you recommend, or how would you advise someone who is in business or want to start business to find their target audience and recognize who that target audience is?
Okay, that's a great question, because if you can't figure out who you're marketing to, then you don't have a business. So for some products, it's very clear. There are some products which are complementary products, meaning, let's say a medical device, right? To do surgery, you need a scalpel. So you will market directly to hospitals that perform surgeries, right? If you create scalpels. But then there comes the gray area for people, say like coaches, who have a gift. Like I'm a business coach. There are many, many businesses out there. So who is my ideal client? I think it starts with you, the business owner. Who do you want to work with, right? I could work with any kind of business, but I choose to work with women-owned businesses. I love working with women of African descent because I understand the cultural background that surrounds decision-making. So that's where my passion lies. I believe passion can fuel your performance, right? So those are two sets of people that I'm very passionate about working with. Women, but more specifically, women of African descent. Does that mean I don't work with other women? Absolutely not. I work with women in general. But when I meet an African woman, I understand that I need to tailor it a bit differently how I approach them. So one is about your passion and your gifting. understanding how that translates to your client. I say to find your ideal client, you have to know what they're thinking. What do they eat? What do they drink? Where do they hang out? What smells do they like, right? Like, what products do they use? So if you're trying to work with someone as a service-based business, let's say you are an event designer and your clients use Dolce & Gabbana or they wear Louboutins, you're not going to go to them with designing their party using paper towels, right? You want to use napkins, you know, like cloth napkins, designer napkins, and that kind of thing. So how do you define your ideal client? You must determine what you're passionate about working, whom you're passionate about working with, and what appeals to them, and find out if there's a need. I'd say business is all about finding a need and filling it. So you must be intentional about finding out what your client's specific need is and filling that need in a way that appeals to your client. Because sometimes we come with ideas and think, people will want this, but not if it's not your ideal client. So it has to be, your service has to be targeted to a particular client. I don't believe in saying this is for everybody. I don't believe in that.
So you just talked about finding out what they eat, what they drink, where they shop. So how will somebody find that out? Someone who is starting business or who is in business and they're still trying to figure out their ideal clients, and they're hearing, find out what they eat, where they hang out, what they wear, and all of those. So how does someone who has no clue find that out?
Okay, great question. I think just for the nature of who we are, we create services for people that we know, generally. Okay, some of us are very ambitious and will create stuff for people we don't know. But generally, we have an inkling like, oh, if only someone could create a head tie that's already pre-wrapped, because there are people out there who don't know who want to wear it, but they don't know how to tie it, right? Because you're kind of in that society, in that community. So a lot of times we create stuff with a familiar presence. But what it takes to really define your client is to dig deeper. So if you don't know, if you're saying, okay, this is what I have, then you need to, and you're saying, I wanted to serve these people, you need to be able to go and find those people. Go to the stores they shop at. Like if you're saying, I wanna work with high net worth individuals, go to one of their networking events. Go see what they're doing. Listen to how they speak. Make sure that's reflected in your blog posts, in your copy, in your ads. You're using the same language so it appeals to them. There's some people who want to say, I want to help them level up. That will appeal to a certain woman, but it won't appeal to someone who says, I've already leveled up, So everything is dependent on actually going to do the research, or you can hire people to do it for you. Or, sometimes, like I said, it's finding a need and filling it. So I may meet you and you may say, in my community, they need X. And I'm like, well, I can do that, but that means I have to come to you to help me with the research. So I think we definitely need to be intentional about doing the research. Some of the stuff you can find online. You can go to the library, you can look in publications, and, depending on what the business is, there's research out there. But if you're not finding the research, then you need to get help to get the knowledge that you need to help you target.
Point. Thanks so much. And by the way, I was going to tell you, I'm using Xolany powder today on this show.
Oh, yay! Looks great.
Let me see if I got it. Yeah, I don't have is it dual powder? This is the case of the dual powder. I don't have the
awesome
container, the powder itself right here with me, but I'm using the Xolany line of products.
Yay, thank you. Thank you for patronizing. I appreciate you.
And we're going to be rounding up here. In fact, we've really gone over our time. Thank you so much again for joining. Yes, thank you so much again for joining us on the show. So what would be your last words for the audience?
Well, I want to encourage you. We're getting to the end of the year. And a lot of times when we're getting it to the end of the year, everyone is saying, I want to, 2017, it's going to be my year. It's my season. It's my time. And I say, yes, it is. But don't let them just be words. Turn your words into action. The only change only happens when we do something different, right? It's been said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So if you want to leave your job to do something, to run your own business, make a plan and then put that plan into action and have the faith to go out. There's a world of opportunity out there waiting for all of us if we only believe, if we only believe. So I encourage you to believe, go out and achieve, find your purpose, walk in your purpose, and own it. Own the greatness inside of you.
Thank you so much. So how can they contact you?
Well, you can contact me on my website, nayahkathurima.com, or on Facebook at Nayah Kathurima. I'm very accessible on Twitter at Naturally Nayah as well.
Thank you so much. And as we round up today, the motivational word for today is hope. Thank you again, and God bless you. Bye-bye.
God bless you. Thank you. Bye-bye.